Set for another Friday night of racing here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, this week featuring the Open Modifieds and the annual running of the Lincoln Tech Open 80 and Bonssa Tufa. It's been a couple of weeks. After Mother Nature washed us out last week, our weekly teams have had a chance to recharge and get set for the final stretch of this 2024 season.
We're less than 2 months away from the season ending. Now we got to talk about the championship picture in our 5 weekly divisions. If you haven't been hot yet, now's the time to get hot when it matters most, especially for those who are fighting for a title. We got 7 or 8 events left in the season. With Mother Nature, who knows how many of those we actually get through. Plus, we have an added event at the end of the year on October 4th with Napa Championship Night. So you still have time to get it right if things are not going in a good direction.
Let's talk about the Open Modifieds for a moment. Great field of cars entered once again, including last year's winner of the event.
Last 2 years at that, Woody Pitcat. He had an amazing battle with Teddy Hodgson a couple years ago. He pulled away from the field last year. He's a favorite, always a favorite in the Open Modifieds. How can you not when you've won 6 times to lead that division all time? Mike Christopher Jr., though, he won the last Open 80 event, the Casella Open 80. It was those two battling for the lead halfway through the feature. But I think there's one guy you got to keep an eye on, Kyle. George Bassett Jr. In the last 2 Open Modified features, he went 26th to 5th in the Modified Masters by GAF, and then the Casella Open 80, he went 20th to 2nd. He's gained 39 spots in the last couple features. Ironic, he drives a 39 car over the years at Stafford. But in the 1 car, in the 39 car, Bassett has been really fast, and I think he's very close to getting that first Open Modified win.
So you're saying if he can just start toward the front of the field,
yes,
he'll be a factor.
Track position matters. It's impressive to pass that many cars, but you don't want to use your stuff up. Track position is key. That's why the heat races are so important. The more cars you pass in the heat, the better chance you have starting up front. You got pit strategy, yes, that can alter things around, but when you're in the back and have to get through the field, you can use your car up. You can't afford that, especially when you have a long green flag run. So if Bassett can start further up front, I think he's got a real good shot at getting that victory.
It's the Lincoln Tech Open Modified Open 80 for the 4th time this year, coming this Friday night, joined by all of our weekly divisions, including the SK Modifieds. 5 different winners in the last 5 weeks, including our most recent winner, Keith Rocco.
Yeah, getting that first Napa SK 5K win, a boost of momentum for that team. I'm curious to see who's the next driver to get hot, though. We've seen Corey DiMatteo get hot. We've seen Mike Christopher Jr. get hot. Is Keith Rocco the next one? It wouldn't surprise me. We've seen him have some bursts over the last couple years. Maybe not as consistent all season long like in many years past, but you can never count out Kid Rock. He's always been a guy that can compete for the lead, even with a car that's not handling the best. But it could be Keith. Mikey Flint's got back-to-back podiums. He might be on the verge of a breakout, but you still got guys like Marcello Refrano, who's had a couple good runs. You got guys like Michael Jarvis Jr., who's been quietly consistent. Maybe he breaks through. Who's the next one that's going to come through and get on a hot streak? And when it matters most, as I mentioned, with the season ending, it's still a pretty tight points battle. Moeller has a 30-plus point lead, but that can go away in one feature. And you got Michael Jarvis Jr., Michael Christopher Jr. tied for 2nd, while DiMatteo and Refrano are about 50, 55 points back. That's not as big a gap as you think. It only takes 2 nights for that 55-point gap to go away. So I want to see who's next to break out because it's been a roller coaster ride. It has ebbs and flows in the SK Modifieds, and who knows who's next to come out on top.
That championship battle still very much in flux, as is the late models in single digits among the top 2, including last year's defending champion.
Yeah, Kevin Gambacorta's had the point lead for the bulk of the 2024 season, but Paul Verrecchio Jr., I think, has got the faster car, or at least the better luck, or maybe both. He's on the podium for the last 4 features. That's why that point lead is down to 8 for Gambacorta. Verrecchio, no matter where he starts, he always finds his way to the front with 5, 6, 7 laps to go. And then we start talking about him. Usually in the first 10 laps, you're like, oh, he's stuck back in 9th, 10th spot. And there he is at the end when it matters most. Gambacorta got caught up in a bit of a jingle the last feature, had to go to pit road, make some repairs to the spoiler, so that held him back a bit. But he needs to get back in podium contention, winning contention. Top 5 is good, but right now, top 5 I don't think is enough. If Gambacorta can get that win this Friday, that's going to be a huge shot of momentum, especially with double features coming the week after.
Gambacorta and Verrecchio, while 1st and 2nd in points, have not been in Napa victory lane, either of them, since May. So that has opened a door for other drivers, including the driver that's won the last 2 races.
I don't know if anybody would have predicted Adam Gray winning back-to-back features back in May, when everything and anything that could go wrong did go wrong. But, man, they've turned it around in a big way, and he's not racing for points anymore, Kyle. I think that makes Adam even more dangerous because he has nothing to lose in the big picture. He just wants to win. He will do whatever it takes to win, but now with no points on the line, that just ratchets things up a notch. But you can't count on Chris Meyer. He won a couple features back-to-back. He had a podium the last time out after starting deep in the field. He's been really fast in the last month and a half or so. Even when he finished top 10 a couple features ago, he started dead last because he had to fix a problem with the car and still came through the field to finish top 10. So guys like Adam, Chris Meyer, we've seen Tom Fern up front, we've seen Alex Fern up front, Bobby Stark III has been up front before he had mechanical problems. The competition's widening a bit. We're seeing more drivers as the season go on battle for the win. Right now, it's all Adam Gray. We've seen him win 4 in a row before a couple years ago. Is he going to do that again? I'm not sure, but he's going to be really tough to beat.
He's halfway there, having won the last 2 late model features. In the SK Light Modifieds, we've talked about Tyler Chapman a lot this year, winning 5 of 10, but Chris Matthews, the all-time winningest driver in that division, he's got it going on right now.
There's a private test behind us if you can hear the motors. But yes, Chris Matthews, 21 SK Light wins now. He's been a top 5 car pretty much throughout the season. That's why he's top 5 in points. Actually, he's second in points, I believe. So that 29 team, just quietly fast, quietly consistent, but not enough to beat Tyler Chapman on a weekly basis. I don't think anybody has anything for Tyler Chapman on a weekly basis. Yeah, 1 week here and there you might see somebody, but that 41's been the class of the field. He's got a huge point lead, and it's his championship to lose.
Want to touch on a driver top 5 in points. We've talked about her a couple of times this year, but Amanda West, halfway through this season, still running well. More top 5s and 10s than she's ever had.
There goes Ronnie Williams. But yeah, do we keep going?
We do.
All right. Amanda's been very quiet, but in a good way. We've seen her run up top 5, top 10, but she hasn't been up there on the podium yet, battling for a win yet. I think she's close, but it is her best year yet, running 5th in the standings. A couple years ago, she was tied for 5th in points, but I think they've really stepped up the performance of that 15 car this season. The last feature did not really quite go their way. They might be still figuring a few things out, but don't be surprised to see Amanda battling in the top 5 more in the last half of the season.
In the limited late models, we are 1 winner away from an all-time record in the division, currently at 10 different winners in 12 races.
It's amazing how this division has really become so tight. Even when you win 1 week, you might finish 9th the week after that. 10 different winners, but Jeremy Lavoie is not one of them. And I'm sure he's tired of us talking about him now winning. He wants to get to victory lane. He's not too far away. He finished podium the last time they raced, but he needs a little bit more to get that first victory. We could see 11 different winners. You still got guys like Mike Hopkins, who's here part-time. He's always fast when he's on track. So we could break that record in a couple weeks or at the end of the season, but I think Devin Jensick has been the fastest car week in, week out in recent months. 4 runner-ups in the last 6 features. He's only 4 points behind Matt Clement in the championship standings. He's a real contender for that title.
It's wide open in the limited late models, not as much in the street stocks.
No, I disagree. It's pretty wide open because you got, what, 5 drivers within 30 points?
That's true, including Jeff Aslan. I want to talk about him for a moment. 5th in points, more top 10s than anybody, tied for that number in the division, more top 5s than he's ever had.
The thing about Jeff Aslan, he's had a lot of obstacles this season, but he never gives up. Even the nights where he doesn't want to go on the track because he's got a multitude of problems and he wants to give up, he doesn't give up. He gets help from other teams and he winds up getting a podium. That's how you grind it out in weekly racing. That's how you make the most of a bad situation. They've never quit. They're up there battling top 5. They get podium runs. They're stepping it up from last year. He doesn't have much experience at Stafford, so it's huge for that 7 team to be up there in the top 5 in points. And who knows, with how this division has gone this year, it could take one night for him to go from 5th to even 2nd. I mean, 2nd through 5th in points are separated by just 8 points. That's 4 positions on track. And with how Haidar's been all year, all or nothing, anything can happen. So don't count out Aslan. Don't count out Lafayette. Don't count out Trott. I know we talked about Travis Squared, Downey, and Haidar, but top 5 within 30 points, a lot can happen.
Can Downey hang on for these final 8 races of the season?
Yes. All he's got to do is finish 2nd pretty much any race,
it's true,
and he'll be fine. I'm not saying he can't win. He can win. He's got a victory this season, but I think he's racing that 11 car more than anybody else. And if he can stay with that 11 car, he has a real good chance of holding on for that title.
Those are just some of the storylines in all 5 of our weekly divisions. The Open Modifieds will join them with the Lincoln Tech Open 80. Come out and see a great field of cars, including Ronnie Williams, who was just on the racetrack a moment ago preparing for 80 laps of battle. It's going to be a great night of racing here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. If you can't be here in person, you can always tune us in on Flow Racing. The first green flag will fly just after 6 o'clock.